Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast, and a very special welcome to a man who I thought was coming in from Singapore, but then he very quickly reminded me that no, he's actually in India at the moment and maybe looking at moving back to Southeast Asia or maybe the Middle East. He is the founder and the CEO of SurveySensum, but also NeuroSensum. Mr. Rajiv Lamba, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Darren, for inviting me.
It's it's great to have a conversation with you because the topic we're going to talk about today and the business that you've built, which is your second startup, is all about customer research, feedback, and how to be enabling organizations and maybe smaller businesses as well to utilize technology without the huge cost that perhaps they have to go through to get the big consulting firms in to do this research. So it's going to be a fascinating conversation. And as I said to you before we press record, people that are listening to this, they know that I don't have a huge list of questions and I've just got the blank sheet there and we'll see where we go.
Absolutely. I love these impromptu ones so that, I don't have to get with I love doing impromptu so that, I can think on the spot and the answer should be very spontaneous from the heart.
And I think that's the best way. I mean, that's been my style now for the last 3 years or so that I've been doing a lot of interviews. And I don't know about you, but when you're out talking with customers, potential customers, raising capital and talking to people that potentially might help you with the fundraising, yeah, you've got to be prepared, but you've got to have those organic conversations and just be able to think on your feet and move where you need to go to get the result. So.
Absolutely. And I love it. I think I've been doing it for the last 15 years, so I've got used to it. In fact, I also don't like very scripted ones, honestly. I want it to be very, very on-the-go conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing worse than a scripted conversation that I've got 20 questions for you and let's get through them really quickly because you could be saying something really good that I missed. So let's enjoy this. So, mate, love to know where did it all start for you? So, if you can tell us and our listeners a little bit about your background and specifically what has led you into this particular realm of customer research with SurveySensum.
Sure. So, I think right now started approximately 22 years back. So, 2004, I landed up a job in Jakarta, Indonesia. That was in a consumer research consulting firm.
Yep.
I've worked in the consulting firms for till 2017. 2011, I joined one of the startup where I was one of the shareholder. That's called Cadence International. It was again in Jakarta.
Mm-hmm.
So I was one of the early founders in Indonesia, Vietnam, and Middle East. Typical market research consulting firm, got bought over by a Japanese firm. 2017 is when I made my exit. 2018 is when the start of SurveySensum and NeuroSensum came in. I think the concept was very simple that I wanted to make consumer research more technology based,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time make it more affordable. So typically what happens that a lot of consulting companies, because of the so many human element involved there, they charge hefty prices and it becomes very expensive for small enterprises to be able to afford them.
Yeah.
When large enterprises can only go to a consulting company for 5 to 10% of their use cases because consulting companies are expensive. And because there's so much of human element involved there, it's just not expensive. It's also very rare view mirror.
Yeah.
Which means you get insights after 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But in the world right now, there's so much of dynamism, you want to get insights right now. You want to understand, is my customer happy and unhappy after using the brand or the service? You want to launch your campaign tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't have time for 3 weeks or 1 month to wait to understand whether somebody's unhappy, because by the time you wait for that, somebody might have switched other brand.
They might have left.
They might have left. So the idea was to create a platform which is omni-channel, completely AI enabled. It can help you to get real-time insights at one-tenth of the cost of consulting,
Yep.
but it should be able to give you insights. So it's not just a data collection.
Yeah.
It should be able to throw the insights from the data, and that's how SurveySensum came into picture.
Mm.
And that's the entire concept of 2018, how we can make market research faster, cheaper, without missing on the insights element, how we can deliver insights at scale,
Yep.
structured or unstructured. And that's how the advent of SurveySensum happened, where we did some round of fundraising, grew the platform all the way, had some more elements of fundraising, expanded to 21 countries around the world, and that's the story till now.
So we talked just before we press record, and I love that story. Before we press record, we talked about the qualitative versus the quantitative element of customer research. And there's a lot of organizations that have customer satisfaction surveys. They'll measure things like Net Promoter Score. But the thing that's often missing from that is the insights that come from that and what it actually means. And what I love that you described was the fact that you can move quickly, you can mobilize quickly because it's a platform that will give you those almost real-time insights that you don't have to wait and you don't have to engage a big consulting firm to then come up with a great big survey platform to do that. One of the things I wanted to ask you though is going back on your journey from 2018 to now, what were some of the big challenges that you faced, particularly trying to get into the marketplace where you thought you could really make a difference? Um, what sort of challenges in terms of getting in market recognition, getting people to take SurveySensum seriously because you're quite new, and how did you sort of overcome those or deal with those?
A very interesting question, and I think it's not just one challenge; it's multiple challenges. Uh, I didn't come from a technical background.
Hmm.
I didn't know how to code. I had an idea, but to create a product out of it, uh, where I think at that time I didn't know the concept of MVP.
Hmm.
I created a whole platform and then went to the customers, and they didn't like it because it was too complex. So I had to go back and redo it. That was the first challenge that I learned at hard way, that there's something called as a minimum viable product that you have to create. Then after spending 8, 9 months, we're creating a full, almost full-fledged product. I went to the market to the enterprise and said, no, 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 this looks too complex to use. Then
Mm.
I understood in a Asian context, platform has to be very simple. It should be able to, the UI and UX has to be very simple. So we went into redesigning it.
Hmm.
So that was the first learning that I had. Don't go with a full-fledged product. Create a minimum viable product, get the input from your customers, improve that product over a period of time in terms of the usability and the complexities. Don't think that you want to create a super complex thing right from day one.
Mm.
So that was the first big lesson that I learned. It was a hard lesson after burning a lot of money. But I think that's what life is all about. You don't make mistakes, you learn with over a period of time, right? So all learning. There's nobody makes an intentional mistake.
Mm.
And then that was one piece of puzzle that I solved over a period of time. Second, of course, as you mentioned, when the brand is very new, Darren, if I go with a recognized brand, it becomes very easy. If I go as a new brand, credibility, building credibility in enterprise is very tough.
Yeah.
Selling to
Yeah.
SMEs is relatively easy, but in our part of the world, SMEs, they don't pay money for consumer research.
Yeah.
It's only mid to large enterprises. So convincing them to get out of their comfort zone, right? The easiest comfort zone is call somebody and somebody will do it for you.
Mm.
The difficult part, even if you're giving a good value proposition from an affordability perspective, difficult part is to make people do by themselves. Though it's one-tenth of the price, but sometimes believability and trust and adaptability to software doesn't come that easy.
Mm.
So creating a CSM, client servicing manager team, ensuring that product has been adopted,
Yeah.
been well used, been able to track at every customer level, that how much is the adoption rate, is becomes very, very important for a platform to become successful. It's not about acquisition, but it's all about adoption.
Mm.
So there's a couple of challenges and learnings which happened on the way while we were scaling SurveySensum.
And through that process, you mentioned that it's hard to establish credibility, but you said something really important. I think people need to understand, and that is you don't have to have the perfect product to go to market. You have to have a product that will solve a problem, or maybe a part of a problem, that will give a customer a result that enables them to see, oh, we're making progress. So what's the next evolution? And then you said you got feedback from customers to help develop and evolve the offering.
That's
And
correct.
you said that it had to be a user interface that was simple to use and not complex.
Correct. I think I can give you a live example. So when we created SurveySensum, when we went to the enterprises, previously they were just doing telephonic surveys
Hmm.
or a door-to-door surveys. That was a norm. Then when we went to the client, they said, you got your own database. Why don't you utilize your own database or your own assets to get the customer feedback?
Hmm.
So we started with something called as a CRM integration. Because every database is sitting in CRM, be it Salesforce and any other system that people are using.
Yeah.
So we started with the CRM integrations. But before that, the first thing that we created was manual contact update,
Hmm.
right? Where you can upload the contact base manually and send service to them. But that's again is a difficult, a bit complex because you have to keep uploading it. Then people said, can you do API integration? So I'm telling you the step-by-step journeys.
Mm.
Previously, I used to think that every channel I will integrate on day one. Then I realized that even from client side, it takes time.
Mm.
For our side, the feature development took time. Then came in CRM integration. Okay, let me integrate with CRM, show you how you can send service through your database with the API integration and how the feedback can come back into the platform.
Mm.
Then came, okay, now can you integrate with my app? So that can I do the same thing on my app if somebody is using my app? That can you integrate with my website? So think we started with manual contact upload, then a bit of education for the client happened. This you can do it smartly. You
Yeah.
can integrate with your IVRs and all those channels that did not happen on day one. It's
Mm.
a journey that everybody travels from one channel to become omni-channel.
Yeah.
It's the same journey that we traveled with the customer when we created these features and we created these use cases. Yeah.
I love that because it starts to enable the product to evolve and be customized to the customers in the marketplace that are going to use it. The other part I was going to ask you was, um, in my experience, having worked with some big corporates in Australia and measuring things like Net Promoter Score and customer satisfaction, often the challenge was to get customers to participate in those particular surveys to give the feedback because if you think about it, most people today, whether they're a consumer or a business customer, they're always getting asked to give some research. Stay on the phone after this call and you'll be asked to rate us out of five, etc., etc. How did you find that process, particularly when you're working with organizations to evolve the offering in terms of helping these organizations not so much increase the number of customers who are participating, giving feedback, but at least encouraging them that's an important part of, I guess, their evolution of the relationship they have with their customers.
Yeah. I think very interesting question, Darren, that you asked. So see, traditional what used to happen, and still it happens a lot. People they were used to face-to-face surveys or telephonic surveys.
Yeah.
So what client ultimately cared that I want 5,000 responses to come in. So traditionally, anybody would have done called, they would have taken a database of 500,000,
Hmm.
called those people, or met them, some of them face to face, and got the feedback done.
Yeah.
Which means the cost of getting the feedback became very expensive
Mm.
because either I'm meeting somebody face to face or I'm calling somebody,
Yeah.
right? Which again is a very intrusive method. Then we came up with some concepts, and traditionally people were also using email-based surveys,
Okay.
where surveys were sent on the email, and but nobody was replying because it was going into the junk box.
Yeah.
Then we came up with methodologies like a WhatsApp-based survey. Possibly we were the first one to introduce WhatsApp-based survey in Southeast Asia and also in India to a large extent,
Yeah.
because everybody was moving to WhatsApp as a channel for the communication. Even clients were moving as an integrated channel. So we told clients that you can buy also a WhatsApp number, like the way
Hmm.
you use for marketing, you can also use that for surveys.
Okay.
So the moment somebody is using airlines and somebody suppose a plane lands, after 1 hour a survey comes on WhatsApp, which traditionally was coming on email or a telephonic call. Or somebody was waiting outside the airport to intercept you and ask you those questions. That was the traditional method, right? So it sounds funny, but that's the way it was. And the
Wow.
cost of research was exponentially high, and there was a lot of intrusive methods which were happening. So So the moment we introduced this WhatsApp survey response, the response rate which happened on email was around 0.1%. What WhatsApp
0.1%.
0.1% on email, it will be shocking. I mean,
Wow.
you will be shocked to know that, I'm assuming. So email was 0.1%, SMS was 0.8%. The moment we introduced WhatsApp survey, that response rate became around 7 to 8%
Wow.
because people were on WhatsApp and they were replying on WhatsApp. Now, whenever there's a face-to-face interview or telephonic interview, sometimes the incentivization happens. So some clients are happy to incentivize customers if they participate.
Yeah.
Now, those incentivizations, what we did as a concept, we said, let's not incentivize everybody because it's not good to put a high incentivization because that can bias the score.
Yeah.
So we created something like a chance of winning something. That if you participate, then the top three draws will be done, and the top person will get iPhone, for example.
Hmm.
That moved the response rate from 8% to 15%.
Wow.
Okay, now imagine the cost of a WhatsApp is so affordable in comparison to me meeting you or me calling you. It's not
Yeah.
intrusive. It's a bit still intrusive because a sent survey has been sent
Yeah.
to you, but I'm not forcing you to be on the spot and give me a response.
Yeah.
Because when I force you on the spot to give me a response, you might tell me something politely that you really don't mean. Because I'm over the call, I'm on face to face. But here
Yeah.
you are free to give a reply on WhatsApp. And that's really, and we call it as a hybrid methodology. We'll send you service on email, SMS, WhatsApp. You reply, we'll see the response rate.
Hmm.
And then in the system, we created something called as a alert. In a way, you can time it up. After one day, if you don't reply, one day automatically again the survey goes to you.
Yeah.
Then after 3 days, automatically survey goes to you. So there are constant reminders
Hmm.
without me interfering in your life
Yeah.
by calling you or by trying to meet you. And this really helped us to increase the response rate to the level of 20% at a much affordable cost vis-a-vis the traditional method. And when we showed this to our clients, and they were shocked.
Yeah.
They were shocked to see the level of insights they were getting at a scale. Okay, because if somebody has, say, example, if a bank is sitting on 1 million customers,
Mm.
to do those surveys in a traditional method, it will cost you at least 100x more money versus doing this way,
Yeah.
the way that I explained, which is a WhatsApp method data collection. And then that method, which is about me sending a survey, then became omni-channel. You use an app, survey got collected. You go to a website, it got collected. So that was more of a structured feedback.
Mm.
Then when we told clients, by the way, we also have a lot of unstructured feedback because somebody is writing on a chatbot, somebody is writing on your social media. Are you listening to them as a part of VOC?
Yeah.
And traditionally, you will be very amused with one of the bank that we worked with. They had 50 people manually coding this data,
Wow.
the unstructured data in one of the banks in Indonesia. 50 people manually coding this data, which was there on an email tickets, chatbot, which is unstructured data. It's not nothing to do with survey, but it's about listening to the customers.
Yeah.
And even with 50 people, they could only code 10% of the conversations.
Hmm.
And then we gave them our Gen AI solution, which is completely NLP based or AI based. It was NLP based now. It has become AI based, which automatically listens to this conversation and gives you the topics and the summaries. So you don't
Hmm.
have to manually code. Currently, even in the world of research, whether it's an open-ended survey, we talked about qualitative, right? This is what qualitative is all about, where people are writing something for you
Yeah.
and somebody's sitting manually and coding them and editing them. Takes weeks, and then we created this algorithm to understand this unstructured data, omni-channel again in a real-time manner, which gives you summary, insights, tickets, resolutions. So that's how the structured and unstructured thing came into picture, and response rate went up, omni-channel listening went up, the entire VOC program came into action.
Love it. Love it. So that's a huge difference from 0.1% to 7 to 8% and then
Yeah.
to 20%. Um, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. What have you seen as a result of that? Um, Companies, how do they tend to use it? Because again, my own experience is and a lot of the data that was coming in from customers and often we'd only select the friendly customers to get feedback from. So it made us look good. But what's the benefit? So if I was to ask you, You're sitting with a brand new customer and they're asking you, "Hey, Rajiv, what is your unique value proposition? What's your unique selling proposition to want to use SurveySensum? Is it the fact that you've got omni-channel? Is it the fact that it's near real time? Is it the fact that it's the cost to serve is so low? Or is it a combination of all of those plus what they can actually do with it once they get the information back?"
See, I think what I talked about were only features, Darren,
Yeah,
right? Features, they mean, of course, they mean something to you, but as a client, the end result is what are the action that you're taking on it.
yeah,
Okay, because if you're a client, if you're a bank or a automobile, say you're a Nissan or you're a DBS bank or whatever it is, right?
mm,
Your key action is if I'm using this, how I can improve my sales, how I can improve my customer satisfaction, importantly, how I can reduce my churn.
mm,
So response rate is one part that it went up, but when you're able to track these scores, now because in the metrics, you know every customer. At every customer level, you know their net promoter score,
yeah,
and you can also see the history of their what we call typically the CLVs, customer life value, right?
yeah,
You can now the idea is to model this together and say, if I've got a good net promoter score, but somewhere I'm sitting in the danger zone, right? I'm passive, decent net promoter score, but I'm not a promoter. I'm
yeah,
passive, and my CLV is going down, which means there's a high propensity of for you to churn out,
yeah.
right? Now, to that passive guy, you can again have one more post survey because you know this person is passive, and you can, and it's very easy to model and say, this guy's my promoter, this guy my passive. His CLV seems to be going down. He's likely to churn out. So that's the probability that the model gives.
Hmm.
That for every customer, you're able to predict the probability of that person churning out and the probability of you losing business and what business you will lose
Hmm.
because this particular customer can churn out. Promoters, of course, we are happy that there's promoter, super promoter, but what you're worried about, if this is a detractor,
Yeah.
but he's one of the potential high flying customer for me, very high customer life value for me, if
Yeah.
this guy churns out, the probability is high, and then I'm going to lose so much of my sales.
Mm.
Now, immediately that trigger goes to the customer support team. Reach out to him, have some feedback direct over the phone, or might
Yeah.
we have some more post service to understand if he's not picking up the phone, what he really wants, why he's unhappy with us.
Mm.
So those are the entire VOC programs that I talk about. So it's not about just data collection. Can this platform ultimately help you to reduce a churn, increase your sales, increase your CLVs? Is what matters to a CMO or a CEO.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the entire program is all about.
And I love that. And because it's a platform that's built on, and you've got AI thrown into it, it's the amount of information you can get in real time, which enables the CMOs, the CROs, the CEOs to make better decisions with more information that are more targeted towards those customers who perhaps they might be they might be a passive right now, but they could have the potential of moving into being a detractor. But also, I'd love your thoughts on even with the advocates, the ones that are the raving fans, not to take them for granted either, and what sort of strategies we need to think about in relation to keeping them happy. Because if we don't give them the attention, they potentially can very quickly move into passive.
Absolutely. And I think that's where I believe the Gen AI element now comes into picture. Previously, it was everybody's looking at the data manually
Mm.
or asking a consulting company or a CX consultant to interpret that information
Yeah.
and give you the insights. Now, within the platform, we created something called as a Sense AI Copilot,
Hmm.
which is almost like you're chatting with the platform, with the data. Oh, I'm a CEO of, say, one of the airlines in Australia, right? I'm a CEO of Qantas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a CEO of this particular airlines. This is my survey data. Tell me the top three action points. So you don't have to go through all the data. It will tell you when your customers who are flying from Melbourne to Sydney, they are the one most unhappy, why they're unhappy. So that you don't have to go through the series of data. So it's almost the co-pilot who is helping you to give you the insights.
Yeah.
So the idea is, how I can make insights at scale. So rather than your CX consultant sitting, going through the data and making a summary for you, the platform should be able to deliver those actions for you automatically.
Mm.
So these are top three action points. These are the customers that I've already flagged, are likely to churn out. I think that's where the AI has taken so much over a traditional SaaS platform. I don't
Yeah.
say traditional SaaS is dead, but what I'm saying that AI is overtaking the way SaaS was created and was used.
Mm. But I think it also enables that in that example, the CEO of Qantas to get information really quickly, which
Yeah,
enables them to make quicker decisions, not just in terms of maybe creating a better experience for the customers who are impacted, but also teaching, coaching, mentoring people who are responsible for delivering that service on the day-to-day basis. So whether it be
correct.
the flight crew, the cabin crew, the people on the ground, the baggage handlers, whoever it happens to be, that co-pilot will give information to be able to say, right, we've got an issue with this particular part of the flying experience, and if we make some changes, what we should start to see is an improvement in that particular area, which will increase the level of satisfaction. So it's
Absolutely.
quick.
Yeah, that's what you got it right. So that's where the entire AI element comes within the platform, which is able to do that entire diagnostic for you.
Mm,
And ultimately the platform is able to create those, what we call it as close the loop as a
mm,
technical terminology. Ultimately, it's about creating those tickets, summarizing those tickets, and AI is able to diagnose those tickets for you and tell you this is a message that you need to talk about.
mm.
So you don't have to interpret that data manually by yourself, which people have been doing for years and years.
Yeah,
But ultimately, the Gen AI is able to tell you this is the action point or a talking point for this particular customer. And that's what's called as the personalized marketing, personalized customer support.
yeah,
The days where consulting companies will tell you males think like this, females think like this, Gen Z, Gen X, whatever it was. I think those days are still very, I think that to me, they're gone in a way because we're talking about personalized action, personalized marketing, personalized customer
yeah,
support, right? I think that's the future of the entire marketing or customer experience. How I can make it, you might be same age as me, but we can't club ourselves as males,
yeah,
right? Of course, as a gender we can, but action for you is different from action for me because we have got
yeah,
different behaviors. Our
yeah,
life values are different for the particular airlines or bank or whichever sector we are operating with. Yeah.
yeah. And with that, I was going to ask you, in your experience since building this, and obviously you're still into your journey. There's more updates to come and more exciting things for you to announce, which you're not going to necessarily announce today, but you said there's some more stuff coming. Um, how much of your challenge as an entrepreneur leading this charge and building SurveySensum has been in relation to, I guess, consulting to organizations, not just to collect the data, but to do something with it. And the reason I
Hmm.
ask that question is there's a lot of businesses that I've worked with and the ones that I've worked in where they say they're very customer centric. They place an emphasis on gathering feedback, both quantitative and qualitative. But Rajiv, they do nothing with it. And part of it is they didn't know what to do with it because maybe they couldn't get the insights, or there's just so many different things they couldn't prioritize. Um, in this day and age where people want great levels of service at a low cost and a high level of reliability, how much of that is a challenge to change the dialogue that companies have and actually use that data so they can improve the customer experience?
Yeah. I think very interesting question. I think the first basic fundamental that I saw why people are not able to take action at times is not that they can't take action or they don't want to take an action. I believe the biggest issue was the data was scattered,
Yeah,
right? So what I realized that when people are trying to do their customer journey mapping and understand their customers, let's take an example of an automobile,
yeah,
right? You start with searching a car, then you go and do a trial of the car, then you buy it, and there's after sales service. Traditionally, what companies were doing, whether it's a survey structured or unstructured feedback, it was collected from different sources. It's been collected from different sources, it's been put together somehow in one source, which is a very difficult mapping to do. You can call it as Power BI, right, to
mm,
some extent. But because there's so much different source of data that people are collecting from different places, mapping it together at one place is the biggest challenge.
mm,
So one is what you're collecting, second is what you already know. You've got your CLV's data, customer life journey data, and you've got a survey feedback, you've got unstructured feedback. The first thing is to bring it together.
mm,
No, that's what we did in our platform. The first thing that we got said, you can only take an action when I can have a holistic view as a CMO or a CXO of that particular data, which is the entire customer journey.
Yeah.
So I'm collecting the customer journey feedback, entire journey. I'm putting them into a single point of dashboard. And if clients are also looking at some other pieces of information, be it, their CLVs and other demographic data, put that together at one place.
Mm.
I think that to me was the biggest challenge,
Yeah.
because when we did the workshop with the clients, we understood this is why people are not able to get together and come to a single point of conclusion, because the data is scattered.
Yeah.
But once we did surveys and we put all of this data into one single point of dashboard, then people started taking action on it.
Mm.
Because then that's where the trackability becomes very easy. Because when you're taking an action, you can go back and track a single point of window. And that's a single point of window, whether you're watching it, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I'm a CMO, I'm a branch manager, you're a CEO, all of us are watching as a single point of contact. And in every meeting, we're talking the same language.
Yeah.
I think to me, that was the biggest challenge when we did the programs. It was not about the mindset of not doing it. Sometimes people, they came together, did the workshop. After 6 months, something happened in bits and pieces. There was no concrete information. When we started solving that, to me, a lot of pieces of puzzle, they started coming in.
Mm.
And then everybody started looking at a common metrics. Okay, I want to see my net promoter score overall. I want to see it by different branches if it's a bank. I want to see it by different geographies. I want to see it by different segments. And that segment is ultimately related to your entire internal sales data for that segment.
Yeah.
And then, okay, let's say, I give an example, right? Melbourne to Sydney flight, this is where
Yeah.
most of the issues are happening. If I'm in Indonesia, a branch in Sulawesi is the one which is dropping it down. Let's take an action on that and how we can uplift it. Then comes
Mm.
the training part, then comes the execution part, right? And then going to that level of depth at a personalized level or individual level becomes very important to be tracking the metrics.
Mm.
I hope I'm making sense to you.
No, no, it makes sense because it's always been a challenge for the companies that I've worked with. Is they say they want to get the information, but they often didn't know what to do with the information. Probably because, as you said, the data was so scattered.
Yeah. And I
That's the
think
thing.
with the advent of Gen AI, I think the one beautiful thing which has happened, that when you're pulling in data, it's very easy to train the model to look at that data, which is sitting as a co-pilot with you.
Mm.
That you can just keep on asking, look at this entire data and tell me which of my sector, which of my branch, which of my dealers are the one who are creating the trouble here.
Mm.
So that you don't have to drop down, right? You don't have to drill down. Like
Yeah.
typically in any dashboard, people have to filter.
Yeah.
They keep on doing filters and the data comes and you say, oh my God, I'm swamped with the data.
Yeah.
Now you can have that co-pilot talking to you as a platform. So traditionally these survey platforms were always there, but they
Yeah.
were so traditional in nature that I have to drill down and I have to diagnose everything. That's why I think Gen AI has just completely taken over, or AI has completely taken over the diagnostic part of it.
Love that. And then if we then transfer the focus then on internally, because in order to create a better experience for customers, as you rightly said, excuse me, there has to be training, there has to be coaching, there has to be mentoring. We've got to make decisions to improve the way that our internal customers, our internal stakeholders are engaging and what they're delivering. What have you seen with your customers using this platform on how the CMO, the CXO, the CEO has been able to improve their internal culture, performance, engagement, which has then led to a better customer experience because they've got that information.
Yes, I think what I've seen, I think especially in the last 1.5 years, Darren. So I think once we had the single point of dashboard for a CXO or a CMO or a CEO, then getting it down from the top to the bottom in terms of, okay, who do I need to focus on?
Yeah,
Might be my distribution team is doing a great job. Okay, I have enough branches. Possibly in this particular branch, my team requires better client servicing. Okay, and might be the way they are greeting their clients needs
yeah,
improvement. Okay, because they were able to go to that level of data, because I think the trainings are happening, right? Whether I'm talking to you over the phone, or whether I'm greeting you face to face, even in the branch, and when I'm calling you
mm,
over the phone, or I'm a relationship manager, all of those trainings were happening. Some people could pick faster, some people could not pick faster. But when they were
yeah,
able to pinpoint, okay, in this particular branch is where I have the biggest issue, I need to ensure that the branch managers are well trained
mm,
on the systems. And that's where the depth of training was very pinpointed.
yeah.
Okay, be it from a customer support perspective or the frontliner perspective. And the
Mm,
same, I saw that in automobiles because they were able to diagnose dealer by dealer. And then in one of the case in India, they understood that one of the dealer, he's a sub dealer in Mumbai, the constant feedback that he was very rude to the customers, right? And sometimes it can happen because you are under pressure when people are chasing you. It can happen, and people are bargaining, asking for discounts. But showing that the training him on how to say things politely when the customers can be at times a bit more demanding, it was as simple as that, right?
yeah, yeah.
But I think these are the trainings which were imparted at sub level. I think companies are doing these trainings, right? But one size doesn't fit all, right?
No.
So some people can. I think that's where the pinpoint became very very important because now you've got the diagnostic at a very sub level of the branches or the dealerships.
Well, that's what makes it so intriguing because you mentioned before that traditional, I guess, customer research, customer feedback was quite manual and required people to either make phone calls or send emails with a 0.1% return rate. But if you now got a platform where people within the organization who are responsible for either the full end-to-end customer experience or an element of it can get specific information that enables them to improve, even if it's a 1 or 2% improvement in how they go about servicing that customer, that can have a huge impact, not only on the top line, but also the bottom line of the organization. So it's not just
Yep,
this blanket, as you said, one size fits all type approach. You got many people within the organization who can get access to information that can specific to their part of the business, which is phenomenal.
absolutely. And I think also now, uh, I think that the traditional approach and saying, South Mumbai is not performing well. Rather than saying that, say, within South Mumbai, which particular dealer is not performing well? Who
Mm,
are these customers who are one unhappy as an individual? Why they were not happy? So now the idea is to move away from an aggregated, uh, broad statement.
yeah,
The thing that I'm even in consumer research or marketing research, rather than saying that my campaign is not working amongst male 15 to 25, very
yeah,
broad statement, right?
yeah,
If I have that diagnostic that which particular individuals are there, if I'm sending the service to my own database,
mm,
that who are the one who my particular concept is not appealing or my product is not appealing. Now, creating
yeah,
a product or a campaign very tailored to them, because I think that's the world of social media, right?
yeah,
Because TV might cater to everybody, while in on Insta or based on your behavior or your requirements, I can tailor the campaigns for you, which are different from tailoring the campaign for me.
mm,
So I think that's where the execution, even the marketing elements have got very personalized now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love that because it means that we can now customize almost an experience and maybe in some cases a service or a product offering for that particular demographic, that particular segment of the demographic because of the research we're doing and the information we get,
Yeah, yeah,
which
absolutely.
then has a flow-on effect to the improved win rates because now we're specifically delivering an offering that meets the exact requirements of that particular demographic, which means we've now got more flexibility and you've fundamentally got a better business because what you should see then is an increased profit margin on each of those because we've done the research and we're not trying to blanket everything with the same offering and hope that it's going to appeal to the mass market.
Absolutely. I think other very simple example that one of the airlines that we work with have used, rather than when the flight gets delayed, rather than saying that, oh, because it got delayed, in your next flight, I'm going to get you $20 off. It's not going to appeal to me.
Yeah,
But when you look at that, I'm a frequent flyer user. I love using my points and say, no, to me as a person, you can say $20 is not a campaign for me. Possibly it can be for somebody else. But a direct points, 1,500 extra flying points for you. Because you've used my insights plus the data plus my survey feedback to make that decision and prediction. But you're
yeah,
not doing it as an individual. Ultimately, AI is helping you to create all of those campaigns and those messages.
yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. So here's a question for you. You've built this business since 2018 and you're adding more things to it. Now with AI that's sort of taking over everybody's world and we're probably just seeing the beginning of what AI is going to do and how it's going to change our lives. Where do you see the next sort of 12 to 24, maybe 2+ years in relation to the area that you're in? and how things are going to continue to evolve. Is there a level of excitement in terms of what the possibilities are, or is there also a level of trepidation and anxiety as you look at the future?
I'll say that there's more excitement versus anxiety. I think when you are riding the wave and you want to be ahead of the wave, then people who are behind the wave should be anxious. So I think I feel excited because when I'm out there to disrupt the entire consulting business, I feel excited with the opportunities in front. I think the big element of next 2 or 3 years, if I look at that as a vision, as AI comes in, my belief is that AI will definitely overtake the traditional SaaS, right?
Mm,
You typing your own questionnaires, you writing your own reports, you clicking here, clicking there to get the PPTs. That era will be over with the AI,
yeah.
which means you give a prompt, question is in front of you.
Mm,
You give a prompt, a distribution of the questionnaire will happen. The data comes in, you give a prompt, based on your prompt, the reports will be ready.
yeah.
Okay. Then there's so much of different intersection of data which is coming in beyond the data that you're collecting, which is what client already has, be it the sales data, distribution data, media data, whatever data, that data is getting pulled in. And based on your prompt, it's making a recommendation. That's what I see for the next 2 years,
Mm,
right? And that's not far away because we're already implementing that,
yeah.
which means the days where you see a Google form, you're writing those questionnaire, making those questionnaire manual, you're thinking, what should be my question one, question two, question three? Those days will be very, very soon gone by,
Yes.
right? Because the platform will think for you. It's been trained with their own data set of questionnaires and the data that you've done. I think that is a vision for the next 2 years that we guys are working on, and that I feel very excited with. Second, I think using a lot of honest because I think the moment consumers have gone digital, there's so much of data out there,
Mm,
right? So is survey feedback the only way of looking at feedback? Definitely not. And your data in multiple multilinguistic languages, for example, even talk about India, there can be so many regional languages.
yeah.
Currently, the models are good with English and Hindi when it comes to unstructured data, like a chat, email
Yeah.
conversation, chat conversation. Those are unstructured data because people are writing something.
Hmm.
But in the next 2 years, in every world possible language, AI, the way it has taken over, will be able to comprehend those languages, be it voice or chat or the textual data, and being
Yeah.
able to interpret that and put that against the structured data and look at that in totality, that people are saying this, but this is what they're writing.
Mm,
And make a meaningful decision out of that is what I see happening in the next couple of years.
yeah.
Not at an English or a Hindi or a holistic language, but at a level languages, which is there even spoken in the rural or suburban areas. I think that to me is the entire explosion where AI is taking it forward as a VOC.
And with that, do you see it only enhancing businesses, whether it be large, small, or medium businesses, only enhancing their ability to be more relevant to their customers and provide better service to their customers, and also help organizations internally, such as sales teams, create offerings for customers that are now more pinpointed, which should increase their level of win rates, profitability, revenue?
I think you, as you rightly said, I think I believe what e-commerce did to SME
Mm,
is what Insights will do to the SME.
yeah.
Like before e-commerce came in, large enterprises always got their way through because they could list themselves on the key account, they had money to play with. And suddenly, e-commerce given a relatively better play for many small brands to come in.
Yeah.
But these small brands also need consumer insights.
Mm,
They're not able to afford it. And possibly a lot of, apart from the CEO of this SME, a lot of people at a below level, they're not data analysts.
yeah.
Right? They don't know how to read data at many times. They don't know how to interpret. In enterprises, they can afford to have good data analysts to interpret this data. But with
Mm,
the advent of AI and the platform that I'm talking about, insights will get, as an industry, will get far more penetrated from a mid to a small, which means
yeah.
if I'm a SME, I'm taking risk, but I'm taking informed risk. Previously, I was taking a blind risk based on my
Yeah.
intuition.
Yeah.
Enterprises were better at decision making because they had the money to spend with the consulting.
Yeah.
But now I've got a platform which has made everybody on a fair play, like the way e-commerce did to the smaller enterprises.
Yeah.
Now, the moment insights become better, their decision making will become better as a small SME. I think that's where uh, a competition for large enterprises will increase further because they have more uh, people to compete with because everybody's on a That's why I say insights at scale, right? Insights at scale
Yeah.
basically means it's been affordable to everybody.
Mm.
Okay.
And
And I think that's the, yeah.
do you see some of the bigger consulting firms knocking on your door at some stage, Rajiv, and saying, "Hey, you guys have built a platform that is a lot more cost efficient. We don't have to spend all this money on consultants. How about we buy you?"
I think that potentially can happen. I think it's possibly is happening in many parts of the world. I mean, see, okay, now if you look at our part of the world, which is APAC,
Mm.
90%, 98% is still dominated by the consulting companies as a share
Yeah.
of the entire insights industry.
Yeah.
In US, it's around 85%.
Mm.
So 15% is what platforms like ours have penetrated, but in our part of the world, in entire APAC, still it's only 2%,
Mm-hmm.
which means some of these consulting companies, what in US, a lot of these consulting companies have ventured into buying these platforms because they and you want to be relevant. So
Yeah.
either they create or they buy. So possibly there can be chances that people might be knocking over. If
Yeah.
it happens, it happens. I'm not thinking about that. I think going with a single vision. What is our focus? Is to make insights affordable, disrupt the consulting market research consulting as an industry.
I love it. I love it. Mate, it's been a phenomenal conversation. Greatly appreciate you sharing. For people who are listening to this, would like to know more about you and connect with you, but also learn more about SurveySensum, where's the best place for them to go?
I think they can go to our website. It's
Yep.
called SurveySensum.com. They can take a free trial there
Hmm.
if they want to, use it for their own businesses, or even institutes can use that for their own feedback of the students, or students can use that for their own research purposes.
Yeah.
If they want to know more about me, of course, they can go to my LinkedIn and get connected, and we can have a chat.
Excellent. Excellent. Mate, I really enjoyed this conversation. If there was one last piece of advice, there might be let's just say a CXO that's listening to this right now and thinking, geez, there has to be a better way. I'm not getting all the insights that I'm looking for. Um, what would you advise them to do other than to go to your websites?
I will say there are smarter ways of getting customer feedback without paying huge dollars to the consulting companies. If you want to understand smarter ways of getting similar level or better insights, come to us.
Yeah.
If you want to keep paying big dollars, go to consulting companies.
You take the money you're spending with a big consultancy, take a small percentage, give it to you, and then you can do some other stuff, maybe training your people on how to be better people within the organization. So there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that, Rajiv. Hey, greatly appreciate you coming on the podcast. And it was a great conversation, and I wish you all the very best as you continue to, I guess, not only penetrate the Asia Pacific market, but then go more of a global scale and eat away at those big consulting firms and their share of wallet. So thanks for being a guest on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks also, Darren, for inviting. I loved this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.